Guess who's back? Back again. Evan's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? My headphones are too loud. In fact, ba-da-da, ba-da, ba-dum, ba-dum. I'm afraid of Big Pharma. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, bars, welcome to Monday. Happy Memorial Day. I start this off with a lot of jokes sometimes, but a moment of seriousness, thinking about all the soldiers who didn't come home today, that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And that's the thing, is I don't care what your political beliefs are, whether you think wars were right or wrong. Those young men died, and women, lady bars, for our freedom. In their mind, they were doing what they could to protect their families, the citizens, and the red, white, and blue. So 5-second moment of silence for them. Bars. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I probably did like 6 or 7 seconds just to make sure, I don't need any of you fuck faces recording the time and then DMing me and be like, well, actually on the podcast, you didn't really blah, blah, blah. Hey, shut the fuck up. I don't know why I'm whispering today, but yeah, feeling good, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here on Memorial Day. As you can see, the people doing the landscaping in the neighborhood aren't taking the day off, They're not celebrating Memorial Day. Heathens, It's interesting because I see things on social media. If I ever want to ruin my good mood, I just go on Facebook. I go on Twitter and I just read the sludge of America. That's what I think Facebook is. I unfollow so many people. So many people are, they get that 30-day snooze. If I give you that 30-day snooze and you come back and you keep spitting that bullshit, done. Another 30 days of timeout. 2 times. You go for a third. Gone from my life. I don't even remember you anymore. Fairy dust. You just don't exist anymore. But people are comparing what's happening with COVID. And when I want to sound smart, I call it COVID instead of the coronavirus. They try to compare this to like Nazi Germany and like their freedom and their rights being like impacted. And it all starts with this and that, this whole for your safety thing. The pandemic thing is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous to me, and I still see it pushed around. I think what's really happened is listen, humans, we're opportunistic creatures. And I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I think what's happening politically is you're seeing opportunities be redeemed. People are trying to be opportunistic on this pandemic and things going wrong. And when we're saying, everybody keeps saying it's a cold, it's just a flu, and things are opening back up. And you know what? I hope you're right. I hope you're right when you say it's just a flu. But the thing is no one knows. No one knows because we don't have any good stats to go off of. We don't have the CDCs. We don't have the WHO. We don't even have good statistics of the flu. I went down a rabbit hole because listen, your boy. Here's the great thing about the internet to me is that when people start arguing things, I have no ego when it comes. I mean, I'm sure I do, but I have no ego when it comes to being wrong in an argument about something. If it's opinions, you can have opinions. That's the thing, is it's all opinions. No one really has the facts and speculation. But when it comes to things like hard facts, I don't have to have an ego about it or anything because all I can do is Google it. People have researched all this stuff, and probably half the things you guys are arguing about online, you can probably just Google it. And when I say Google it, I don't mean go on Wikipedia. I mean actually look for some evidence-based articles. And you can get some real shit, okay? Because when I start coming up with these opinions and formulating an idea, I like to go do research, and I like to be like, okay, let me see what the actual facts are. And it's hard to get facts about coronavirus because there's so many skewed numbers. And there's so many different codes, the way a COVID death is ranked and everything. So we get all this like crazy things, and there's so much gray area and hospital administration. We need to investigate them because there's been so much malpractice throughout like the Western world of medicine. And there's so much like doctors insurance and malpractice insurance that I think shouldn't really be allowed to be a scapegoat, because then it's just protecting a business because we need these doctors to keep pushing the pharmacology and everything like that. Listen, there's so much malpractice and there's so many gray areas for people to make money in this that of course we're not getting the real shit. And here's the thing. When we start going back and you start looking at it all, and people want to call it a flu, all the flu numbers are skewed as well. There are tons of deaths that are marked as the flu when they're not really the flu. And then there's all these things of where now they're ranking deaths of pneumonia has gone down, the flu has gone down because everything is a COVID death. So I don't necessarily think we have all the data to be able to decide how deadly this is. And I think the thing is that when you start looking at it, and I think we crossed over like 90,000 with the skewed numbers. And when we have I think it was like 60 something of the flu, which is skewed numbers again, no matter way you look at it, with a lockdown for a couple months, we still had more deaths than the flu from this. I'm sure there's some other ones lumped in there, and this is my opinion, okay? And some of it is factual when you look at the actual months within this time we've had these deaths. I do think we were never trying to, I sound like a fucking football fan when they refer to themselves as we. I'm one of those people that really think they're making a difference by staying at home. They really feel like a hero. I stayed at home, so I'm a hero. I did my part. I just fucking watched Netflix and fucking farted bubbles in the bathtub. This podcast has gone off the fucking rails. Never get on Spotify with this. I'm actually already on Spotify, but here's the fucking douche part. I didn't get anything. I just signed up. They didn't even want me. I was like, let me get on there. Like I squeezed into it the last second. They let me in. They're like, all right, I guess, get on. I think I'm paying to be on there. Anyway. But like, we had all those deaths while we were locked down. If a lockdown was successful, it shouldn't really feel like anything. Like all we were doing, there I go into we, is trying to flatten the curve to where the hospitals and everything could catch up. They could get the equipment they needed to be able to take on an influx of patients. It was never like we're going to eliminate the coronavirus. I think if we would have done what Lorenzo Fertitta, one of the Fertitta brothers, they used to own the UFC and they're successful hotel men. There are a couple of brothers, and they, when everything was going down, they're like, what we should do is shut down the country at a standstill for 2 weeks. Everybody stocks up on food. No one leaves their place. Just based theoretically on the way that coronavirus operates in the infection period and the incubation period, it would have died out. Like, that's not even an argument, that if everybody would have just stayed still in their home, no one went out, no one went to the stores, everything just shut down and just hunkered down for a couple weeks, this would have been done in 2 weeks. But we would have needed everybody to do it. And that's an ideology, but theoretically it would have worked. But it never would have worked in reality because people dumb. People dumb. Ideas good. People dumb. Okay? No one would have went through with it. And I don't know, people always got to sneak out. People got to bust them nuts, you know? People sneak out and they bust them nuts for one reason or another. And there's always some fucking Karen who's just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to drink my margarita on the beach. Woo! It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. You see that. And I'm sorry to every Karen out there. But you know what? I don't even like, I have some jokes and I'll throw in Karen. But I just use Karen as a descriptive word. Because now when I say Karen, you picture a lady asking to talk to the manager. Okay? Karen. You know Karen isn't going to be around that name in 50 years because no one's naming their kid Karen now. No one. No one should name their kid like fucking Chad. Fucking Chad. Ridiculous. But I think it's crazy, like the entitlement that people have to where they compare. That's the thing is I was going to tweet this, is that some people are referring to not being able to go on the boat at the lake house over summer when they're referring to their childhood trauma. Like, trauma is just perspective. And some people, the goalpost is a lot farther away. You know? Like, that's some people's childhood trauma is they're like, I didn't get to go to Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. Or Pascali's, if you will. You know? It's not that hard. So when a little bit of rights or anything that you think is your freedom gets imposed on at all, people freak the fuck out. They can't believe it. And then some people, listen, that's the thing is I hate when people start calling other people sheep just because their opinions don't match up with yours. Especially when your opinion doesn't have a lot of data or there's a lot of conflicting data when you don't have everything. And here's the thing. I don't like the idea of calling other people's opinions sheep or just you try to mock them. That's the thing. I'm probably contradicting myself right here with how I just went off on Karen's. But if someone wants to be in quarantine, cool, do your thing. If you don't feel safe, you got a family, there's a lot of variables that a lot of people don't understand from the surface level, that's cool, that's fine. If someone doesn't want to quarantine and they want to go out and they want to get back to normal living and everything, cool, do your thing. Why? Because I don't know which is the best. And you know what? Everybody's entitled to believe whatever they want to believe. But the issue I have is when people start making fun of other people for wanting to wear a mask. Do I wear a mask when I go driving? No, I don't wear a mask. When I go for a walk with my dog, no, I'm not wearing a mask. Why? Because I'm staying 6 feet apart. I'll do the shit, because what's the harm in it? Listen, I don't need to prove to anybody that I'm tough or that I'm brave. Listen, if you have to prove that you're brave by not wearing a mask on purpose to show that you're not afraid, you got a little dick. I said it. You heard it here. And listen, you don't even have to have a little dick. It's a metaphorical little dick, okay? What I mean is that it's you ever heard the Ghostbusters? I ain't afraid of no ghost. That's what I hear whenever someone says, I ain't wearing a mask. I don't give a shit about Corona. Listen. Statistically, coronavirus isn't killing me, okay? But I don't need to parade around and show people, hey, look how cool I am. Look, I'm brave AF. The people that feel like they don't want to wear a mask and they want to are the people that rev their engine on bikes, like dirt bikes or motorcycles when they're going up the street, or they just burn out of a stop sign for no reason in a neighborhood and there's vroom, just taking off. Those are the people that don't want to wear a mask and want you to know that they're not wearing a mask. You know? Ridiculous. Let people wear a mask if they want to wear a mask. And when people say masks don't do anything, it's literally a barrier blocking. It might not be 100% efficient, but it's not like it's going to be less efficient than your mouth being exposed, right? That makes sense, right? Because if you take one cloth and you lay it over your face, it's going to be 1% effective, right? Even if it's that. But then you put 300 cloths and then you have a nice solid barrier. That's even better, right? So then it's where do we go from 0% effective to 1% to 10%? And isn't life all about just risk and percentages? 6 feet isn't guaranteed. What if someone hawks a loogie? It's not going to help you. I talked about this way too much. Can you guys tell that there's nothing going on in the world? Your boy ain't doing a lot. Just trying to get a lot of work done. If I'm being honest with you, I'll be more candid. I've been like burnt out. And I know like in quarantine that you're supposed to be like, everybody's like relaxing and like trying to rest. And I don't know if anybody else is. I bet a lot of people are stressed out. But like I've been trying to stay on a rigorous schedule this whole time and like still get all my normal shit done, working out. You guys think this was an accident? Working out like 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Reading, journaling, doing like 4 hours of editing a day on video and photography and graphic design, doing everything for my business while trying to still do like stand-up stuff and all of that. But then I noticed like I'll have like 12, 14-hour days where I'm just working all day, every day. And then I'm just like burnt out where I like, sometimes I'll try to play like Call of Duty and relax. And then it's just like my mind is racing to where I'm almost like have anxiety because I just have been going to the point where I'm just like, but then like I'll struggle with that of like, I didn't get enough done today or didn't do something. And it's just weird to be like in a state of like unfulfillment in quarantine because I don't know. That's another thing that you can get into is that I don't think quarantine is a natural human thing, obviously. We're like herd animals. We're like social animals, herd animals, and we're not like zebra and shit, or wildebeest. That's what I think of when I think of a herd. We are sheep though. Bars. Stay woke, huh? Yeah, I don't think quarantine's good. And like, I try to remind myself that, but like, I'm just one of those people, I don't know what it is, where it's like, yeah, like I take this time to try to focus on things that have been bothering me through the past and like getting better and being smarter and trying to like fix issues, childhood traumas, if you will. I never went to a lake house. I don't even know what a boat was growing up, but it gets exhausting, you know? And I'm trying to learn how to unwind a bit and just relax because before this, I was able to get, I think because I enjoy stand-up so much that it hasn't been like a completely work for me. It's like such a rush when you're doing it. And even just like going there, the experience of like, I love walking up and then there's, like 7 or 8 comics outside and you guys are all in a circle talking. Those are like some of my favorite times. Like that's what I miss. And then watching everybody do their sets. And then like, there's nothing I love more than talking about stand-up, and when someone asks for like, let's like almost like workshop a joke where you just take it. It's literally like, I don't know. I think everybody should try stand-up because it's so much fun. Like just taking apart a sentence and trying to make it funny and just be like, how should I say it this way? Should I say it that way? It's too wordy. The misdirection's too obvious. We got to place it here, and like figuring out all that. But that was always so much fun as you would go on stage and then you would do newer versions of a bit. Like that was always what was exciting. Here's the thing is like going through stand-up of like when you first have an idea, a premise, shit's on Bambi legs. You're not sure about it. You get up there and you do the joke. It doesn't get a laugh. And you're like, okay, well, maybe I said it wrong. Maybe I need to fix it. You work it the next time, boom, gets a laugh. You're like, aha. And then you start reworking it, make it even better. Bigger laugh. Pop, pop. Beautiful. Beautiful. I started working on music again. And one thing I've noticed from doing stand-up that has helped me a lot with all avenues of creativity is allowing stuff to ripen on the vine. Because jokes, no matter what, it's weird, at least for me, a joke, no matter what the first version of it is always going to be bad. All there usually is going to be is like, there's something there. And you got to work it through to become an actual like bit. You can do the bit and you can't just like have the joke in front of you and then keep I had a stroke, guys. Welcome. Rewriting it over and over and over again on the spot. You have to like do the joke, like write it out, get like kind of a couple drafts of it, do it on stage, and then let it marinate and kind of start thinking of things and have a slower process, kind of chip a little bit away at it every day. That idea and style of doing jokes is now translating over into everything that I do, with graphic design, with video production, with music, with writing things. I always like to, like now I call it get a new set of peepers on it, is when I do a video or a graphic design. After a while, if you go through like an 8-10 hour editing session, your peepers are done. You start looking at a design or a video and it just starts looking weird no matter what. So you're like, I need to let this marinate. I'm going to get a fresh set of peepers on it tomorrow. And it's like, you just got to let your brain kind of detach from it. And then you can come back the next day as like a new person who can actually make critiques on your own work. Like that's something about if you're ever doing something like video production or anything, I don't care what it is, creative. You need other people to look at your work, and you need to even take a step back to look at your work. That's like one thing I notice about music and creating stuff is a lot of times I cringe looking at old music videos and everything like that. But enough time will pass where I'm detached enough from it to be able to watch it from a perspective that's like, that's not necessarily me that did that. I mean, I still cringe at mostly everything, but that's just the way it is. But yeah, I don't know why we went off on that tangent, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be here with you. Oh yeah, I'd like to make this announcement. If you listen to the podcast, I've noticed that I've been steadily getting more reviews on iTunes. I'll go check it every now and then, and I'm like, holy shit, people are reviewing this unprompted. And I don't think I've ever said it in the podcast, but if you could, it helps me so much, and it means a lot to me when I go and I see a new 5-star review. We have, I think, 10 reviews, 5 stars across the board. People are loving the content. And I just want to say, guys, if you don't leave me a 5-star review on my podcast, then you aren't black. Okay? No, I got to rephrase that. If you don't leave me a 5-star review on my podcast, then you aren't Puerto Rican. Okay? Yeah, we'll go with take 2. That was crazy, huh? I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. Joe Biden said that in a Charlemagne interview where he was like, if you don't vote for me, if you don't know who to vote for between me or Trump, then you ain't black. Who talks like that? What? Who says that? Dude, there is no way that Joe Biden is beating Donald Trump. There is no way. That is the most insane thing ever if he wins. It's rigged. And that's one of the conspiracy theories that actually holds up in my mind. There's a conspiracy that some people shiver. Dude, I've had so many strokes. Shiver when you say the name Donald Trump. Say it again. Donald Trump. He's your president too. There's a lot of theories that they're trying to rig the election by having mail-in voters. And that's why the Democratic Party is trying to extend the quarantine, the lockdown, and push more for that. So when the election comes, they can rig it with mail-in elections, which isn't a bad theory because how shady is that? But also the fact that throughout the years, there's always been weird count votes and everything like that. And they'll find an entire warehouse of like polls and votes and everything. So fucking weird. So sketchy. We live in a simulation. Yeah. Happy Memorial Day. It's funny. I was thinking about this. So the first time that I ever smoked the devil's lettuce was in high school. And there is some relevancy to this being Memorial Day. I was in high school, and like a lot of people, I think the first time I smoked, I didn't get high. Okay? Smoking the devil's lettuce. I don't know if I just didn't do enough or what, but that's like always been like some weird folktale lore, like, or folklore, is that you don't get high the first time. Bullshit. I think it'd be impossible for someone not to get high. But I mean, I didn't, but I probably just didn't do enough. I still kind of was like, whoa, I'm dizzy, and ate chocolate and shit. But anyway, it's funny because the first time, I think I was dating this girl that did it a lot, and her neighbor and It was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. It was the weirdest times of my life. I want to say I was like a senior in high school or something. But I remember we went to her neighbor's house or somewhere, and we did it, and I got so high. I went to goddamn Mars. And I remember we were walking around her neighborhood. It was me, her, and her best friend. Me, the girl I was dating, and her best friend. And we were walking through this neighborhood. We were going back. And I remember we went to this other girl's house, and they had just had a barbecue the day before. And I remember being so fucking hungry. I had the munchies so bad that I took out the huge barbecue, like a pan thing where you like store like catering food in. I just put it on the counter, and I just started eating straight hamburger patties and hot dogs. Just the wieners. No buns, nothing. I must have ate like 7 hot dogs and like 5 hamburger patties. I just started stuffing them in my mouth cold, and they were so good. And I remember there was mustard and ketchup on the counter too. And I literally would pour it on the hamburger patty and then like split it in half like it was a pizza you were folding. And I would just eat that. And it was, mind shattering. And what's funny is that girl's house we went to, her parents were there. And I found this out years later that her parents were like, they smoked and everything, and they were cool with people doing it. So they must have known I was high. And I remember the mom walking by me and just laughing at me, but not saying anything. And me being so out of my mind that I didn't even think of how weird this probably looked. And my eyes were probably redder than the devil's dick. And I remember it was just glorious. That was like that one moment, like, like in the Wonder Years, you have like those moments and those like, what is it, the Sandlot and everything like that, where you're just like, oh no, like you have those childhood memories with fireworks at the park while the movie's playing. That's one of my memories. And I remember after that, we walked to her other friend's house, and they had a restaurant. They owned a restaurant. And I remember she had like 8 little brothers and sisters, and they were all like little hobbits. Like they were all little like small folk. And I remember thought it was the funniest things. They all looked like munchkins, and they thought I was so fucking cool. And because I could do the worm, and I was doing the worm in their living room, and these little munchkins were like cheering me on. And then we ate more of their food because they had a restaurant. So they had all the food in the fridge from the restaurant. And it was amazing. It was like Greek food. It was fucking delicious. People are going to start putting connections back together of who these people were, these characters. But, and then I remember we went outside. I think we got high again. And then we went outside, and one of her, I don't know if they were bawling or what, but one of her little sisters, who literally was like 2 feet tall, comes like burning out of the garage on a fucking mini full-size replica of a Harley Davidson. Literally like the huge, like, the bars up here where she was like, vroom, vroom. Literally, it was immaculate. It looked like it was at least $5,000. And I remember the way she was sitting on it looked like a little like what is it? Hell's Angel. And she was burning around us doing circles. I literally was crying and laughing at how fucking crazy this was to me. It was insane. It was such an insane experience. And it felt so Lord of the Flies in that neighborhood. And I remember, this is the tie into Memorial Day, is that when I got home, it was like Saturday or Sunday. I remember everything was cool. I went to bed. It was whatever. That Monday, the next day, I get a call, and it's this guy, and he's like, "Hey, Evan, how's it going?" And I was like, "Good. How are you?" I'm good. This is Sergeant blah, blah, blah. And I go, "Oh." My heart just starts racing because I'm like, who the fuck is this? And like, I'm thinking like, oh shit, somebody saw something that weekend, and now I have the sergeant police department fucking, they're coming after me. And so he goes, yeah, it's nice to meet you. What's going on with you, man? How have you been? I go, good. Cool. What'd you do this weekend? And I'm like, oh, shit. And I go, just hung out with some friends. Oh, yeah? What'd you do? We just hung out. Oh, yeah? You guys were just chilling? Yep. Cool. And I'm literally like, I can't even talk. I'm like, and he goes, that's cool, man. That's real cool. Yeah, I just wanted to see if we could schedule an appointment, maybe talk to you about joining the military or something. And I was like, oh, shit, man. Come on. And it was like some recruiter that got my number from the school because I'm like a senior in high school, and he was going to try to recruit me into being a Marine. And I remember being like, I didn't want to say no because I was just so weirded out. I was like, yeah, maybe some other time, man. And then he showed up in my class one day, and he took me outside, and he wanted to talk to me about the military. And I don't know if he was trying to molest me. That's kind of weird they took me out of class. But he didn't molest me or get me to join the Marines. But hoo-ah, you know? But yeah, I remember that scared the shit out of me. Scared the shit out of me. Speaking of scaring the shit out of me, we'll talk about this. Have you guys seen the Los Angeles County Public Health Department director? Dr. Barbara Ferrer, aka the Crypt Keeper. The LA health director looks like the most unhealthy person ever. She looks like she's been quarantining her entire life. She needs some vitamin D and sun exposure. Okay? And she can get both of that with sun exposure. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I don't get when you go to the doctors. This is what I'm saying. When I say that like the health administration needs to be investigated, everything needs to be changed, I feel like, to like make people more independent and restructure their life. We need to like get off this whole lazy, we want everything now kind of mentality, because it's showing we can't keep it up. It's all fabricated. I think a lot of with society is all fabricated because look what a quarantine can do to us. We're not self-sufficient enough to be able to handle this. And I think all it's going to take, and listen, if this turns out to be a cold, good. Okay. We got lucky. We got lucky if this is like the flu and we get out of this pandemic with the losses and sacrifices that we've had just now. Because if this was the real scary one, a real bad one, we would be fucked. Because look how quick, even if this was a small one, we fell apart. We fell apart in the sense of like just toilet paper. Let's talk about toilet paper. But I think really like just people start protesting. There's so many conspiracies and everything like that. I think we have to get more responsible as individuals and start providing for ourselves and not rely on the government and on this economy as much in the sense of like, there's too much of this corporate world and I don't think it holds up. I think factory farming is insane. When you start looking at the numbers and how long it can sustain, I think we got to get back to like trying to, and I swear this isn't just because I have a garden now. It's not just because I have a garden now. I think in some ways we got to get back to being more self-sufficient with living off the land and everything. It doesn't work. This is all fake. Just like social media. What's not fake is the person who's been doing goddamn work outside my apartment all fucking day. Gosh. But I just think there's like such an overhaul of going over all the pills that are administered to people and just the healthcare system. And it starts with people being more independent and responsible with their own health. Like that's the thing is like, they're all saying like vitamin C and blah, 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 and vaccines and all this stuff. Be healthy, get a healthy diet, start working out. Like heart disease. I think heart disease kills something like 800,000 people a year in America. That's where we should start. The coronavirus, the flu numbers are small compared to that. So I think we need to tax the shit out of bad food and tax the things out of cigarettes. And vote for me. campaign Evan Lopez 2032. We'll run that. Okay. How crazy would that be if in 2032 I run? If that even is an election year. I think it is. Yeah, I think we're good with that year. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was a quick one. I got family coming out. Everybody's been quarantined. We're going to do some barbecue, celebrate my pops' birthday. And I'll see you on Thursday. Remember, I love you.